very good morning to you and welcome to the Morning View Show here on Dissect TV, the cradle of goodness. My name is Anne Mungai.
And my name is Andy Mike Kilambu. Remember to reach us on our social media platform, that is Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And our SMS line is running down your screens.
Yeah. So today being the 17th of August, actually Wednesday, we have a lot lined up for you. But first, let's look at what is happening on the headlines.
And today being Wednesday, August 17th, 2022, making headlines on the Daily Nation is the first story is this one. This is one killing too many. That is a story on about Daniel Mbolu Musyoka, who was an IEBC East. Will be talking more about that. Then there was the big story that is Decision 2022, Raila rejects tally. We'll be talking more about that. Then there's a story also on the IBC Vice Chair, Juliana Cherera, and the maths. Yep.
And on the standard, of course, the main story is Raila's rejecting the tally, and it says why I reject Ruto victory. Actually, on page 2 and 3, we'll get into details with that. Another story on page 8 says pull in tray 9 key issues awaiting Ruto. We'll look at that. And of course, the story of the missing election official murdered. It's on page 25. We'll look at that. Another story on page 6 says IBC commissioners walk out, splits opinions. We'll look at that. But right now, let's look at newspaper reviews.
Yep. And let's just start with a story that is really making headlines. That is Raila rejects the tally. This is what the Daily Nation had to say. Taming Wafula, day of drama. Taming Wafula Chebukati announcement of William Ruto as president-elect. Anality, the Azimio leader vows to seek justice and overturn the results declaration, even as dissent IBC commissioners lay bare their case against their chairman. So a divided commission had a chairman and a disputed election result in this 2017 all over again? That is the biggest question, because you remember in 2017 we had to redo the elections because we had some malpractice and some irregularities that came with it. Yeah. So do you think we're gonna have the same kind of results? That because the last time the Maraga dismissed the elections and we had to repeat them. Do you think this time it will also be the same thing?
I really hope not, because that would be like we'll be wasting a lot of time and a lot of resources, and Kenyans have already voted, and the president-elect has been announced, and now there's an issue with that results. But I really hope that they don't really be like 2017, because that means that we'll have to like do it all over again. It's wasting a lot of time, But the main issue here is, according to Standard, page 2, and I want to quote what Mr. Raila says. On our view, our view in Azimio is clear. The figures announced by Mr. Chebukati are null and void and must be quashed by a court of law. In our view, there's neither a legal and validity declared winner nor a president-elect. Yeah. And actually, there's a lot they're talking about here, and I want to maybe continue reading what it says here. Raila claimed that in declaring the results, the IBC boss had acted with gross impunity and in total disregard for the Constitution and other national laws. Do you think?
I really don't know about that, though, because the numbers that, from whatever they've been trying to say, Mr. Chebukati also has to come out and tell us exactly what they think the problem is, because right now we really don't know how Azimia are going to program their case, because given the numbers that we have right now, and that is about the numbers that were brought by Ms. Cherera, that is the the deputy chair of the IEBC, that the mathematics was not mathing, you know. That is according to Twitter, that the mathematics was not mathing. So until maybe the Azimio side will bring up a case that we can relate with, that's where we can give a point on that. Yeah.
Now, according to Raila, Chebukati called for meeting with all 7 commissioners only to declare he has final tally of the results. 4 of the commissioners did not agree with this and walked out after the IEBC chairperson allegedly held his ground that the results were final. So that is why we actually saw the 4 commissioners walk out and they went to address the press saying that the result is opaque. Opaque.
Yeah, it is not transparent.
It is not transparent. And the reason as to why they actually walked out is because they did not agree with the results, whereby they say that Chebukati said that the results were final. Yeah, and I don't know how this will play out, but it's actually somehow we have a little bit of tension on it. Yeah.
But I would like to recommend Kenyans as a whole for keeping the peace. And just to quote also what Mr. Odinga said about that, he said, Mr. Odinga, it says here, Mr. Odinga also commended Azimio supporters for remaining calm and keeping the peace. And we also would like to extend that to the whole nation for keeping the peace. And Kenya has decided, as much as we're going to do this, or the Azimio side is going to do this, the best thing they have ever said right now is saying that they will follow the right channels through the courts to do that. Just to quote what they had to say, they said, Mr. Odinga said the result announced by the Independent Electoral and Boundary Commission IBC Chairman Wafula Chebukati were null and void and must be quashed by a court of law. This sets a stage for a bruising fight at the top court that could take 21 days. Then the interesting thing would be the countdown started yesterday for them to put their petition, you know. They said the 7-day countdown to file the petition began yesterday. So today they are down to 6 days. Yeah, 6 days. Yeah, it began yesterday, and the judges will have 14 days to decide the case once filed.
Yeah.
So Mr. Chebukati declared Ruto the winner with 50.49% against Mr. Odinga, who came number 2 with 48.85%. So in just to quote something here, it says, in our view, there is neither a legally and validly declared winner nor a president-elect. Mr. Chebukati's announcement purporting to announce Mr. Chebukati's announcement purporting to announce a winner is a nullity. They acted with gross impunity and in total disregard of the Constitution and our laws. That was said by Mr. Odinga, though.
Yeah, and I want to read something very crucial here on the Standard. It says here, the coalition urges that the numbers announced by the Commission at Bomas of Kenya from various constituencies did not tally with the total registered voters. Yeah, and in some cases, those who turned up to vote exceeded the number of registered voters, while in some instances, the number of voters garnered by each of the 4 presidential candidates could not tally with the turnout. Total registered voters and even the rejected votes was announced at Bomas of Kenya.
Yep.
So that is the issue. The coalition, they're urging that the announced numbers that was announced at Bomas of Kenya did not tally with the total registered voters. And that is the main issue. But we're going to look into details with that, really. Yep. And actually, I think it's a follow-up story.
Yeah.
Now, let's look at what happens if the Supreme Court nullifies the results. If the Supreme Court nullifies the results, a fresh election will then be held within 60 days after the decision. But should the petition be thrown out, the swearing in will proceed on the first Tuesday, 14 days after Monday's announcement of results. So if they nullify the results, Then we take 60 days after the decision now to decide whether we're going to vote again or whatever was going to happen. But if they say no, they throw out the petition, that means that the swearing in will proceed after 14 days after Monday's announcement. Remember the day that the president was announced? Yeah, we're actually counting right now, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know what you think about this whole story, and I know everyone knows about the story, but you can tell us, what do you think about it?
Yeah.
What do you think?
What
What's
do you
your view on
think?
it? Do you think this will be like the 2017 election? Would you want it to be like that? How is your view on that? You can tell us on our social media platforms, that is Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Dissect TV.
Yep. And just to move on to a very, very interesting story, and it has been making headlines everywhere, even on your social media platforms. It has been there. The 0.01% of what? That is the that is the question being asked here on the Daily Nation. 0.01% of what? Just to quote what they had to say, they say IBC Vice Chair Juliana Cherera in a media briefing yesterday called Wafula Chebukati's total tally a mathematical absurdity that cast doubt on the accuracy of the declared results, as it indicated an extra 142,000 votes cast. Kenyans immediately took to the social media to correct her, and three dissenting colleagues, noting that the figure, though important in the current conversation, was much less at 1,420 votes. So it is the math in the fight. And the story goes on. You can check it on it's on page 2 and 3 of the Daily Nation. And just to highlight this, and they say that Juliana Cherara was just yesterday hoping to present a weighty evidence to the nation and why she and three other commissioners of the polls agency did not agree with the Monday's results of the presidential election. But that is not what she got. She had hoped to help Kenyans figure out problems with the declared presidential results. Instead, she became a figure of embarrassment, as the figures she mentioned did not add up. I don't know if you guys have tried doing the maths. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anne, you've tried doing the maths?
Of course I have. Of course I have, and somehow maybe she made a mistake there because it does not make sense. But she was corrected on Twitter, right? People say that it's actually 1,420. It's not the amount that she was claiming.
Yeah.
But and the story also continues on the Standard page 3. You can look at it. It's an interesting story, whereby and people were actually engaging on this story on Twitter, saying that the math is not mathy. But you can tell us what you think about that. This is a whole story. It's also in regards to also the story that we were talking about previously. Yeah, but we really hope everything will turn out well.
Yeah, as the story goes on, we'll be able to give you how much it unfolds in accordance with the IBC, the president-elect, and the Azimio side, all in one. Yeah.
Now let's look at the education sector. So there's a story here. It's actually a concern. A story on page 7 says education players seek revision of calendar. We know that children are home right now because of the election.
And I think they're going back in September. I don't think they're going back on Thursday.
They were supposed to go back on Monday.
Yeah.
Then it was
Thursday.
Postponed to Thursday. And now
it's sometime in September.
Yeah. And actually it's a call to by the parents and people in association. I mean, people of interest in this sector. They're actually saying that the calendar should be extended because yesterday parents pushed for extension to allow adequate time for learning and preparations for national examinations later in the year, because we know there will be examinations.
National examinations.
Later in the year. So, secondary school teachers have also asked Education Cabinet Secretary George Magoha to readjust the school calendar and also change the examination dates. Because I think, there's a way that it's different when you are studying at school and at home. I mean, it's not the same. There's
The
that
level of concentration is
you have
yeah.
when you're in school as compared to when you are at home. So I don't know if their wars will be met, but I hope
And
everything will move.
just talking about that, I was discussing with some of my colleagues and some of my friends, and we were asking now as parents, yeah, why the government maybe should come with an idea where maybe you pay like the daycare, like you'll count the days where when your children have gone to school, then pay your school fees within those days. You get like when you take your child to a daycare, you pay in the evening after the services, because right now parents are bothered, parents are suffering in that when the schools open, the schools want money. Then 2 weeks down the line, you just paid maybe bus fare and all that. The schools are closed again. You also go home for another month, then come back again for. I think the education sector has to do something about it, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely, they have to do something.
They really have to do something about it.
Yeah, because actually stakeholders say that failure to adjust the calendar will see the candidates undertake a compressed learning period before sitting for the national examination.
And still on the same issue under education, we also know that selections of junior high schools will start this week. That is according to the National Examination Council. The portal will be open until August 30th. So you can check with that and see where your child has been selected to. Yeah.
Now, let's look at another story maybe. On page 8, it's actually an interesting story. 9 key issues awaiting President-elect Ruto. President-elect William Ruto will assume office with a full in tray. He knows too well that Kenyans currently grappling with a high cost of living have high expectations. But just what else awaits the fifth president? The fifth president, rather. Please pardon me for that. And the story is on page 8. 9 issues he has to deal with. And I want to maybe highlight them a bit, and we can discuss the point. And it actually says, I just want to read the topic. I mean the headline, because it's actually very interesting. Why Ruto's honeymoon is over before it actually begins. Now, he has to deal with these 9 issues. High cost of living.
That is one.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about high cost of living, because right now, the cost of living is very high. When let's just look at the unga issue.
Yeah.
There was a time a few weeks ago there was a subsidy for maize flour, and we were getting the maize flour for 100 shillings, but now we are not. We are back to the 250 to 220 shillings price. And the high cost of living is there right now. Everything is hiked prices. What do you think about that? How do you think he's going to maybe deal with the high cost of living?
He has a way out, because he in his manifesto, you remember, he said that he's going to help the farmers, by having the subsidized on their products, maybe on the fertilizers, because a bag for fertilizer, it was at 6,000 shillings. So he's going to subsidize it to around 2,000 shillings so that they be affordable to our farmers. Bring technology, embrace technology in the farming process, so that we are able to get a really good outcome in terms of production of our farming produce. You get. Then we also have the idea of integrating other foods apart from our staple foods. Apart just from being there with ugali, maybe we try something else. So that will bring about the food security. Given the fact that we don't forget that we had a week period to have that ugali for 100 shillings. And you see now in the supermarkets, you could get them in the shelves. They'll just go. I know people have stocked them at home. Now, right now, after the elections, we are kissing it goodbye.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another issue is actually drought and starvation. Now, let me read for you what here it says. It says that more than 3 million Kenyans are facing acute hunger after the rains failed and the little they planted failed to fill up granaries. They are in need of emergency food aid. Right now. We're talking about right now.
Right now.
Yeah. And what do you think about maybe the drought and starvation? You know, it's an issue we're having because actually right now we don't have rains and it's actually affecting the plants. The farmers actually planted, they're not growing, some of them.
I think that is the main issue why we're having this acute problem of starvation and lack of food, because when we really expected our rains, they're not there. And we don't know, even the government should come with a strategy on how to compensate the people from the arid and semi-arid areas, because they keep losing animals on a daily basis. They keep losing lives on a daily basis, and they cannot get food. So at least through the subsidies that go to them, they should also be put, maybe the government should put a thing that is able to compensate them of whatever they do. Yeah.
Another thing is education, and we've actually talked about it, but the president-elect said that the curriculum will be scrapped since it's expensive for parents. On the other hand, he said it will not be scrapped, but a team will be constituted to look at the challenges it is facing with a double intake expected in January 2023. And this is another issue that needs to be dealt with, because right now we are shaking when it comes to the school calendar, because we don't know. You know, during our times, we knew by the time, we knew when first term starts to when first term ends, second term to that term begins. We knew the times. Right now, you don't know.
And that brings us that really brings us to the question: is CBC really working? You know, yeah. You can tell us on our social media platforms.
Yeah.
Is CBC working as a student, as a pupil, and as a parent, as teachers who are teaching our students and pupils? Please bring your comments and tell us, is CBC working, or should we go back to the 844? Because we are taking a very long time to settle down on the CBC, and our calendars keep changing and changing and changing. And these are some of the things that the new government will have to deal with. Yeah.
Another thing is lack of decent jobs. Unemployment. Because right now, a lot of you are actually unemployed. It's an issue that is right now, and it says here, unemployment, going by a strict definition of those actively looking for work, has remained at below 10%, and by the end of 2020, it had reached 5%. So it has increased actually, because in 2020 it was 5%, people who are actively looking for jobs. Right now it's at 10%. You know, we really hope whoever will be present will be able to
Right now we the UDA side, they're the ones right now that we know they're supposed to, they're in government. So if at all the hustler manifesto works, then we hope that so many youths will be employed. Yeah, if it comes to that on the ground, it comes out and they manifest it to the brim, as they were saying, then we're expecting that we're going to have a very an economy with a lot of youths being employed. Yeah, and on the same case, you realize that they also gave a lot of promises with the SMEs and the small business enterprises, and how they're going to help them grow. So we are yet to see that now. Now it's not time of promises, but it's times of doing, just as he said. As he said in his speech, the incoming president-elect, he said a lot about now politics is over and let's focus on working. Yeah.
Just to highlight the rest, high taxes and high public debt. Of course, we know right now we are actually at 8.56 trillion debt by the end of May.
You've added plus the IMF that you're given.
You know.
And the Eurobond wants its money back by 2024.
Yeah.
So there's there's pressure on how we're going to deal with paying our debts. Yeah.
Another very important point is healthcare and sanitation. Right, by the end of 2021, there were 13,276 doctors, which means in Kenya, which means that every doctor serves 3,690 people. Compared to the global average of one doctor for a population of 596. Globally, it's like 596. But right now, in Kenya, this means the tally says that one doctor serves 3,690 people. Imagine. That's a lot.
That's a lot of people.
You know, these are some of the issues the president-elect will have to deal with. After, you know, they are into the seat now and now expected to deliver, because as I read here, Kenyans have high expectations, very high expectations, and we hope that they are going to be met. Yeah. So and on that note, it has been very, very amazing newspaper review, but you can tell us what you think about all these stories, and make sure you get your Standard, today's Standard, and also your Daily Nation to look at those stories and so many more stories on these newspapers. Amazing stories. But right now we need to end it there. But we will be with you tomorrow, same time, same place. I've been your host, Anne Mungai.
And I'm Andy Mike Kilambo. Have a good day.